All right, everybody. So this is part 3 of our rhetorical analysis, strategies and explanation. And in this part, what we're going to do is we are going to examine an example of a rhetorical essay. And rather than trying to write all the different parts up here on the board, what I've done is I have found an example on a website, and what I'd like you to do is open up whatever your web browser is. If you're on Mac, it might be Safari. If you're on a PC, Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Microsoft Edge, whatever it is that you like to use. And at the address bar, what I would like you to do, and I'll leave this up for a little while until I need the whiteboard, is I want you to enter HTTPS, the colon, or the two period symbols vertically, backslash www dot scribbr.com / academic ACADEMIC hyphen, not a dash but a hyphen, essay ESSAY / rhetorical RHETORICAL hyphen analysis ANALYSIS, and then a backslash. So if you'll please go to that Scribbr, I believe is how it's pronounced, website. Again, that's www.scribbr.com / ACADEMIC hyphen ESSAY / RHETORICAL hyphen ANALYSIS / and that should get you to the Scribbr website with this example. If you're having problems with that, you can also search rhetorical analysis essay example Scribbr, SCRIBBR, and that should get you there as well. So you're gonna have to scroll down past a bunch of stuff. So it says how to write a rhetorical analysis, key concepts and examples. You want to scroll past the table of contents, the key concepts, because we've already gone through that, and all the way down to where it says introducing your rhetorical analysis. And what it says is, like all essays, a rhetorical analysis begins with an introduction. The introduction tells readers what text you'll be discussing, provides relevant background information, and presents your thesis statement. All right, so the first thing that they're going to have you do in your introduction is introduce what the text is that you're analyzing, or it could also be a film, it could be a song, an album, a picture, it could be almost anything. So in this one, we start off with Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech is widely regarded as one of the most important pieces of oratory or speaking in American history. All right, so we've identified our text. They are going to be taking a look at Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech. All right, so now we give some context, some background info. Delivered in 1963 to thousands of civil rights activists outside the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., the speech has come to symbolize the spirit of the civil rights movement and even to function as a major part of the American national myth. So with that, think of the journalistic questions. If you don't know what I'm talking about, a good journalist in any article will inform you of the who, what, why, when, where, and how. And essentially, we have those elements here in this second sentence in our context part of our introduction. We know it was done in 1963 at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., and it's come to symbolize the civil rights movement as well as becoming part of America's story. All right? So then we get to our thesis, and this is where it's going to be really important to kind of mimic this style. This rhetorical analysis argues that King's assumption of the prophetic voice, amplified by the historic size of his audience, creates a powerful sense of ethos that has retained its inspirational power over the years. So when we take a look at this, this example does something that certain teachers, professors, instructors that you're going to have are either going to be okay with this or they're not going to be a big fan of this style. And that's the very beginning where it says, this rhetorical analysis argues. So it's not exactly the same as saying in this essay I will perform rhetorical analysis, but it's a little bit on the nose. You do absolutely want to mention rhetorical analysis, but I'm not sure that you always want to give the paper the voice of this is rhetorical analysis on this. It's a little bit too blunt for some people, but if your instructor, professor, teacher, whatever, doesn't have an issue with it, then by all means, go ahead and explain what type of essay it is in your thesis statement. We also get the main points that they're going to discuss here. And remember, if you watch some of the earlier videos on drafting, you know that when you mention things in your thesis statement, you need to discuss them in the order, in the body, in the order that you mention them in your thesis statement. So we have King's assumption of the prophetic voice, or he speaks about the future, what he hopes for the future. Amplified by the historic size of his audience, one of the largest audiences ever, creates a powerful sense of ethos, or the credibility that retained inspirational power over the years. So through this, King was already a very credible speaker, but because of the sheer volume of people paying attention to this and the prophetic voice that he uses, I've been to the mountaintop, very biblical in a lot of its delivery. It sort of, through all of that, you get this inspiration that continues up until today. I mean, I often have students, when they're asked to write a comparison contrast essay, will choose to compare and contrast Dr. King to another person. So he's someone that's very much still at the forefront when we're talking about racial equality and race relations in this country in general, which sadly we probably have not made as much progress on as Dr. King would have hoped by now. All right, so if you scroll down a little bit, it says the body, doing the analysis. The body of your rhetorical analysis is where you'll tackle the text directly. It's often divided into 3 or more paragraphs. Each paragraph should focus on a different element, and they should all contribute to your overall argument. All right, so when we take a look at a typical body paragraph here, It's obviously not the whole thing. King's speech is infused with prophetic language throughout. So we mentioned that he has a prophetic voice in our thesis statement. So now the main idea sentence, or the topic sentence, depending on what you like to call it, is the first thing that we get to. King's speech is infused with prophetic language throughout. Then we're going to get this person's evidence as to where that prophetic voice exists within the text. And then finally we'll have analysis, followed by our conclusion sentence, or our concluding ideas about this. All right, so we've mentioned the prophetic language as our main idea sentence, which means that that topic needs to be present in every sentence in this paragraph. So we shouldn't be introducing new themes. Even before the famous dream part of the speech, King's language consistently strikes a prophetic tone. He refers to the Lincoln Memorial as a hallowed spot and speaks of rising from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to make justice a reality for all God's children. And then the analysis. This is the author's own ideas about this. The assumption of this prophetic voice constitutes the text's strongest ethical appeal. After linking himself with political figures like Lincoln and the Founding Fathers, King's ethos adopts a distinctly religious tone, recalling biblical prophets and preachers of change from across history. So we're looking for credibility. We're looking for that ethical level of involvement. So in terms of people that you could tie yourself to compare yourself to, that would give you credibility: Lincoln, the American Founding Fathers, biblical prophets. Those are especially if you're a believer, those people are extremely credible. They have a high level of ethical fortitude, for lack of a better term, to a lot of people's minds. So he's linking himself with these people that many Americans and people of the Christian faith, also value very highly. And, well, I suppose not just the Christian faith, because Judaism and Islam both acknowledge some of those same prophets as well. So that's where some of that credibility is coming in. They're recognizing that by aligning himself with these people, King is giving himself credibility. This adds significant force to his words. Standing before an audience of hundreds of thousands, he states not just what the future should be, but what it will be. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of our nation until the bright day of justice emerges. This warning is almost apocalyptic in tone, though it concludes with the positive image of bright day of justice. And then our concluding statement here: the power of King's rhetoric thus stems not only from the pathos or emotional appeal of his vision of a brighter future, but from the ethos or credibility of the prophetic voice he adopts in expressing this vision. So it's not just that he's linking himself with these credible people, it's also that he's making an emotional appeal to an audience that's primarily people of color about how the future is going to be better for them. It's not might, he's saying it will be better. All right, and then if we scroll down a little bit, we get to the conclusion, where it says, the conclusion of a rhetorical analysis wraps up the essay by restating the main argument and showing how it has been developed by your analysis. It may also try to link the text and your analysis of it with broader concerns. All right, so we're going to start with a brief summary. then go into the importance or the significance of what exactly this speech means, and then our closing statement. So the summary, for me, I usually try and include some version of what I said in my thesis statement in the introduction. Yeah, I like the way that it gives it a nice round feel. It makes it feel complete. But they go a little bit in a different direction here. Not totally, but a little bit. It is clear from this analysis that the effectiveness of King's rhetoric stems less from the, basically, they're going to use the word pathetic here, but it means having to do with pathos or the emotional appeal, not that King himself or his message was pathetic. Pathetic comes from pathos, but it has a much different meaning than what we think of today. Let's see, stems less from the pathetic appeal of his utopian dream than it does from the ethos he carefully constructs to give force to his statements. So if you remember from part 1, we talked about how pathos is often the easiest of the three to understand and incorporate, but because it's the most common, it can oftentimes be the least respected because it is so easy to understand. It's sort of like getting people to feel a particular way through stories, images, different elements like that is sort of like shooting fish in a barrel. I mean, it's the same way that if you've paid attention to some of the people making comments after the Super Bowl, you have people that are on the extreme right that chose to sort of disparage the decision to play what some people call the Black national anthem, I believe it's called Lift Every Voice and Sing. But they construed that as being, too woke, or it's too unnecessary, or we're forcing it on people, and so they get angry about it, as opposed to people on the extreme left that expressed a lot of displeasure about the "He Gets Us," the Christian Jesus ads that ran. I know that, in terms of the conservatives, I believe it was Marjorie Taylor Greene and Carrie Lake that were making the comments about the Black national anthem, and it was AOC and a few of the other ultra liberals on the left that were complaining about Jesus ads and capitalism and everything like that. So you can see it doesn't take much. I mean, a commercial or the performance of a song, that isn't particularly divisive, that immediately makes people choose sides. So that's why it's important to recognize pathos, but oftentimes you are viewed as more credible when you lean on ethos and logos to actually make your point. And that's what they're saying here, is that it stems less from the pathos and more from the ethos he carefully crafts by aligning himself with the founding fathers, with Lincoln, with biblical prophets. All right, now we get the importance. By framing contemporary upheavals as part of a prophecy whose fulfillment will result in the better future he imagines, King ensures not only the effectiveness of his words in the moment, but their continuing resonance today. So it's not just that this was important then, it's that it continues to have importance today. And that's why the ethos is so important in what he was doing. So the rhetorical analysis shows that it's that ethos, that credibility that he crafts, that it has been what allows this speech to continually be discussed, referenced, and revered by many, many people today. All right, and then a strong closing statement. Even if we have not yet achieved King's dream, we cannot deny the role his words played in setting us on the path towards it. So kind of broadening it out, making it accessible to everybody. All right, so take a look over that and just pay attention when looking at other examples to how they make their appeal to you. Are they using more pathos? Are they using more ethos? What kind of context are they referencing it in? All of that is very, very important and can help make your analysis stronger. All right, everybody. Thanks for lasting through the 3 videos with me, and I hope that you have a better understanding about the rhetorical process now.